She was being, mentally abused. Every time John Cena becomes likable, stories like this come out. Of course you're going to ask for more money. That's... Not only is that life, that's work, okay? What up, viewer mares? This is your boy, Deathmare. And before we get into it, let's go ahead and acknowledge the snowflakes with a warning. What you are about to hear are opinions of Deathmare. Deathmare is a trained and professional opinionator. These views and opinions should not be attempted to say or give at school, work, on the playground, or even at home. Please don't try this at home. Man. So, with that being said, viewer mares, today we are going to be taking a look at a video by the homeboys at What Culture Wrestling. Shout out to What Culture Wrestling. Let's give it up for them. They always put out amazing content. Just absolutely amazing. And hopefully they don't copyright me. But the video we're going to be taking a look at today is entitled 10 Wrestlers Who Refuse to Drop the Titles. Shocking. I know. Absolutely shocking. So, we are going to wrestle it. Do we agree with the wrestlers who didn't want to drop the titles, or do we disagree? Hey, only one way to find out. That is to wrestle it. With that being said, win, lose, or draw, man, ring the bell. Ding! Ding!
Wrestling is still real to me, damn it, and I know that it's real to you too. I see the crazies on the internet. Don't come and tell me that people don't believe in this stuff. Every single little decision is criticized to the nth degree. It is important to remember that, given what we are going to talk about today, because yeah, if that's what sports entertainment does to your brain, imagine being directly involved. Sometimes people just get sucked in. It means on occasion you get a wrestler who would just not drop their title, even though that's the point of this mad world. I am Simon Miller. Let's go. Number 10, Shawn Michaels refused to lose to Vader. Shawn Michaels will be the first guy to tell you there are two different versions during his WWE run, the 90s and then the 2000s. Entity number 1 was very protective of his spot, as everybody was, and therefore, if he felt the need to put a shield around himself, that's what he was going to do.
Well, I mean, hey, as an independent contractor, which is what a professional wrestler is, they do have to worry about their brand. So that's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it, honestly, is also as an independent contractor, i.e. like a painter, I'm not just gonna hire a painter and then they want to negotiate with me. That's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? So it's that fine line between independent contractor and employee that, quite honestly, no matter what field you're in, or career you're in, for that matter, that line always gets blurred. So that is kind of bothersome, but who knows?
For Only you can decide the right from the wrong. He was the WWF champion in 1996, and therefore when Vader finally made his way to the company, we matched these two up. Vader had been a top guy everywhere else he had been, so let's capitalize on that. It's a proper never-seen-before fight. According to the man behind the mask, it was meant to go like this, however. He would lose to Michaels at SummerSlam under the promise of getting another match down the line where he would win. It's called classic wrestling politics. There was even a working plan for him to drop the title back to Shawn at the 1997 Royal Rumble, and I can see that. That show was in HBK's backyard. During their first encounter, though, Michaels was not happy about how much Vader smacked him in the mouth, so yeah, when he was done, he was really done. We are not doing this again. Sounds like this was a pick'em too. A lot of people say Vader really did pack.
Look, classic politics, man. Classic politics. You know, the amount of people that are legends in wrestling that Vader stood against in the ring that have complained about him are not many. Like, honestly, like, only one. And that would be Shawn, right? Or Paul Orndorff. No, I'm just kidding. If you know, you know. So, look, classic politics, man. That's what it is. It's just a shame. It really is. Because who didn't like Vader? And also, this could have been a classic Rocky kind of story. You know what I mean? Like, where he loses just out of nowhere. And then, like, he trains and stuff. And then he comes back. Honestly, you know, that's like classic anime storytelling anyway. But, seems like Shawn in the 90s was a mark. Which is ironic because, you know, if you're in the clique, then everyone else is marks, right? That's very ironic.
A punch, but plans are plans. Now comment below. Number 9, Sable says no to Luna.
So, that one. We wrestled number 10. Quite honestly, I disagree. He should have dropped the strap to Vader. Help establish and make another star, especially at that point in time, before the Attitude Era. Bro, come on.
What a 180 this was. On the one side of the ring you had Sable, and on the other Luna Vachon. It was the opposite of how the WWF used to see women's wrestling. There was some friction here, however, because Sable found her way to the women's title based on her popularity.
Okay, I want to address that, because that always annoys me. The fact that there's this stereotype that pro wrestling or the WWF used to view women in a certain way, and then show a picture of Sable. Look, you got it all wrong. The story with Sable was that she was being, you know, mentally abused by the wrestler that she managed, which would be Marvelous Mark Marrow. And it was a story about empowerment, okay? And she wasn't doing these rebellious things to necessarily be provocative. She was trying to make a statement. And that statement in the storyline reached its peak in that story when she delivered a power bomb to Marvelous Mark Marrow. And then, you know, you also had female wrestlers such as Chyna, okay? So, quite honestly, you know, to me, that's just always a stereotype that, oh yeah, WWF was terrible to females. Well, you know, they were telling stories, okay? So, whatever. Like, quite honestly, they didn't start to do all the, like, extremely provocative, sensual things up until, like, after Vince Russo left, and no one knew how to write a show after that, so they just started throwing everything against the wall, right? Anyway, let's keep going.
Clarity and looks. She absolutely exploded, and throughout the Attitude Era was a huge star. It meant that eventually she needed some in-ring training, and Luna was given that role. She was a very experienced worker, knew what she was doing, to say the least. That brought us to the 1998 Survivor Series, where Sable did win the gold, which she didn't defend until the Royal Rumble. And why? Because then she could fight Luna, and given all their time together, this should be a pretty decent match. Makes sense. Due to that, the company decided they could get at least a couple of pay-per-views out of this, so had Luna winning the title, and when Sable found that out, nope, that doesn't sound like a good plan. The word has always been that she went and got this changed, and yeah, come January, she did walk away with that championship. So wrestling never changes. Number 8, Tessa Blanchard.
Okay, so do we agree with that one? I don't agree with that one either. I think, Sable should have really attempted to sit under the learning tree of Luna, and would have not only extended her career, it also would have made her a better wrestler, and it also would have eventually made her more money down the line. Because I gotta be honest, after Luna left, the only good female wrestlers they really had was Jacqueline, Ivory. Ivory was great. She could play a lot of characters too. It wouldn't be until a couple of years later that they had Lita. And even Trish Stratus, when she came in, was not a good wrestler. But Lita was, though. She had a lot of experience in other companies and other countries and different styles, yada yada.
Or she wouldn't drop the TNA title. Man, this was a thing. There was a point in time where the wrestling world had their eye on Tessa Blanchard because she was so good, TNA went out and put the World Championship on her. And I mean that as it sounds, not the Knockouts title. She held what was until this point predominantly the male's major belt. This happened in 2020 where Tessa defeated Sami Callihan at Hard to Kill, and she had a successful defense against Taya Valkyrie. Then the pandemic hit. This, of course, threw everything into disarray, and as TNA tried to sort things out, they asked Blanchard to drop the title at Slammiversary. As her contract was expiring that same July, though, Tessa wanted to renew it with more money before making any decisions. And you can guess how this went. Not good. There were a lot of other controversies too, which made this a very volatile situation, so in June, TNA stripped her of that belt, as they didn't think she was going to do it willingly. Sheesh. Number 7, Mike Awesome took the ECW.
Okay. This is going to be a tough one. Quite honestly, Tessa Blanchard is in the right for wanting more money. She became a bigger star on her own, and so much so that the company put the title on her. I understand the, pandemic happened. But what did they expect? Did they expect her to just say, no, I'll take a pay cut. I'll take the same amount of money. It's not how it works, man. So if they wasn't about to give her more money, I'm sure they could have compromised in a creative way, as opposed to just, burning the bridge with Tessa Blanchard. Because quite honestly, Tessa on the internet for years always gets a bad rep, as if, oh, she burned bridges with all these companies. Guess what? Her company is herself. And put yourself in her shoes. If you go to your job and you do more and you become a leader and people put you up on a pedestal, guess what? You're now carrying that extra weight, right? So, of course, you're going to ask for more money. That's not only is that life, that's work. Okay? That's called a career. That's your job. So, this may surprise people. I actually agree with Tessa Blanchard on this. As far as the comments go, I'm not talking about anything that happened in her personal life. I'm talking about her relationship, business-wise, not anything else that happened with her, if you know what I mean.
You titled.
We got an ad, yeah we do. And I don't get sponsored to play that ad, no. But I'll tell you what though, viewer Mares, that ad, just like Big E's run in the New Day, is over.
I mean, why not? Well, lots of reasons. Mike Awesome debuted for ECW in 1993, and while he came and went, his big run wasn't until 1998. That was good timing. This is when Extreme Championship Wrestling was going crazy. Sadly, he got injured, so was out until 1999, and his return was big. Awesome won the world title twice, became a very important cog in that wheel. Like many of the roster, Mike then felt like his money wasn't being sorted as promised, so even though he was the champion, Awesome went and secretly signed with WCW. Ruh-roh. As he had the title, Eric Bischoff instantly wanted to pull a Medusa and throw that thing in the trash, but Paul Heyman wasn't having that. The ECW legal team told WCW straight up the consequences. This is what led to a crazy situation, because to appease all parties, Heyman came to a compromise with Awesome where he would come back to the company and lose to Taz, who just so happened to be signed with WWE at the time. So we had a match that was ECW versus WWE versus WCW. Wild. Thanks to when it was recorded and when it was aired, it also meant on April 10th, 2000, when Michael debuted in WCW, he was still the owner of the ECW Gold. And I tell you, my friends, that is just crazy. Number 6, Stan Hansen keeps the...
Okay. I'm starting to notice a pattern here, viewer Mares. I am always going to side with the little guy. I'm sorry, man. Actually, no, I'm not. I agree with Mike Awesome. A job's a job, man. Where's my money? And if there isn't anything legally keeping you there at that job and you are an independent contractor, go make more money. It is what it is. It's kind of like how in the workplace nowadays, like all of these owners and bosses, they love having control. They always want to tell you, we're a family. Okay. No, we're not. We're not. I want to be professional. I want to just go to work and just work. I'm here for money. That's why I studied my craft. That's why I passed exams, tests. That's why I spent years learning how to do things involved with a certain field in order to have a career. No, we're not a family. You didn't do what I did. I have a family. I agree with Mike Awesome.
AWA title. Creative differences, as always. It started in December 1985 when Stan defeated Rick Martel for the AWA Championship, and this was a surprise. Hansen was a huge star in Japan, but it wasn't the same way over this way. Plus, Martel had been champion for 595 days. This was a big deal. Stan also went on a 6-month tear, but he didn't like this. Most of it had been squash matches with no storylines, and that is not what Hansen was all about. Soon there was also money issues, so when the AWA told Stan to drop the title to Nick Bockwinkel, Stan said no. Mostly because he was mad. Nick talked about this on a subsequent WWE-produced AWA documentary, and he felt Stan was loyal to AJPW promoter Giant Baba, so if nothing else, he was trying to protect his aura. He didn't want to lose. Therefore, when Baba found out about what the AWA wanted to do, he told his star man not to do it, and he listened. It sucked for the company and Bockwinkel as they had to strip Hansen and say he wasn't the champion anymore before they just handed it to Nick. That is not the way you want to become the world champion. Number 5, Bearcat Wright.
Wow. I I do not agree with that one. Gosh, I don't know if I agree with anyone in that situation. Because AWA could have just said, okay, well, what's your idea? Right? You know, I mean, it is what it is. Wow.
In the WWA title. Ron Simmons, deservedly so, is credited with being the first African American in wrestling history to be a world champion, but there are two other individuals who deserve this sort of praise too. Bobo Brazil won the NWA World Championship from Buddy Rogers in 1962, but refused to accept the title since Roger was injured. He was a good dude. In 1963, Bearcat Wright then won the WWA Championship from Freddie Blassie, the problem being this promotion wasn't part of the NWA at the time, so it wasn't recognized. Such ridiculous wrestling. He held that belt for 115 days, and even during such a short run, twice he told people he wasn't going to lose. The first was Edward Carpenter in November 1963 and Freddie Blassie the following month, and it all came down to legitimacy. Wright was so strong he wanted somebody with realistic credentials to defeat him, and didn't think either of these guys fit the bill. This is when management went and got the very legit fighter Gene LaBelle, and
honestly, I'm down with that. Because quite honestly, look at all these nerds in wrestling nowadays. Like, no. You want to try to make professional wrestling legitimate. People know it contains predetermined outcomes, okay, but we still want to see some actual wrestling, right? Yeah, you could throw the storylines in there, right? I'm not trying to watch all these acrobatics, you know what I'm saying? I think the proof is in the UFC, right? A lot of people love watching that. But if you want to be like a pro, you know, that should be pro wrestling. Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, Ken Shamrock, Dan Severn, Gene LaBelle, that's where it's at, you know.
as soon as Bear saw that, he had no issues. He knew in a straight-up scrap Gene would kick his ass. I think things got too out of control, though, as basically Wright refused to go to the ring, meaning the WWA just took the title off him and switched it. I tell you what a crazy world this is. And before John Cena says no to Jack...
So, I don't like how he did that, bro. Like, he got what he wanted, and then he just didn't do it. Wow.
Swagger.
At Harbor Freight.
And viewer mares, we have another ad. Which means I'm gonna go this way. No, I'm just kidding. But hey, you'll know what else is crazy though? I'll tell you right now, you're never gonna believe this. What else is crazy is the fact that this video's back on.
Such a stance is reserved just for old school wrestling either. It's still happening right now. In 2010, this had even more to it, because at that time, if you won the Money in the Bank briefcase, the record books would show you a 100% cash-in record. That's right, nobody lost. When Jack Swagger got the briefcase at WrestleMania 26, it meant he was almost guaranteed a championship run.
A real wrestler.
Went off in a different direction. So even though Jack wasn't the one to break this run after he did beat Chris Jericho for the World Heavyweight Championship, this wasn't what WWE wanted at first. They wanted Swagger to go after John Cena. Jack spoke about this on the Talk Is Jericho podcast because, yeah, WWE did book a segment on Raw where he teased beating Cena, but never got round to cashing him because John smacked him right in the mouth. And why did we do this? Because apparently Cena had told management he didn't think it was the way to go. I think this set the powers that be into meltdown, as Swagger only held on to that title for 82 days before losing.
Man, I tell you, every time John Cena becomes likable, stories like this come out. Bro, you were wrestling, what, 2-3 years before you had a moment with Kurt Angle on live TV? And Kurt Angle gave that to you? Undertaker shook your hand on live TV You know? It's like, just take, and no give, right? See, around this time, that's when a lot of people dropped off. And a lot of people had already dropped off watching WWE. But I mean, around this time, it was just like all the time. And people liked these new characters like a Jack Swagger, Zack Ryder, John Morrison, heck, even The Miz. And especially the Nexus. But, this crap right here.
Losing it to Rey Mysterio, and my advice to you all would be ignore everything. It wasn't really WWE at its best. Number 3, Roman Reigns says no at WrestleMania 39. We need more information about this because context is key. Given what we did do at WrestleMania 40, even if Roman Reigns had gone to management and said he didn't think Mania 39 was the right time to lose, well, maybe he was correct. It caused huge controversy, as we know, when more recently the word came out that the American Nightmare was due to win in 2023, before Roman and Paul Heyman had this chat. Because why don't we do this instead? Again, though, the rumor is the tribal chief felt like extending Cody's journey would get fans to buy in even more. And yeah, he had that right on the nose. That ending in April 2024 was excellent. Let's not forget the higher-ups could have said no too, so maybe they could also see the vision. And yes, this all would have been terrible if Rhodes hadn't gone on to finish his story, but he did. So all was
I highly doubt that was a call by Roman Reigns. If you remember, around the time of WrestleMania 39, Vince McMahon was out of the company. He found his way back into the company, and the first thing he did was take note of Cody Rhodes' push and his inevitable victory at WrestleMania 39. And so the first thing he did was he screwed him over. Why did he screw him over? Probably because, his daddy, Dusty Rhodes, chose not to just do everything Vince McMahon proposed him to do in the early 80s. I think the proof is in the pudding, because when eventually Dusty Rhodes did come over to join Vince McMahon Jr., he just ruined his character. And also because there are people out there who are very petty and are in places of power. We've all had these bosses. They're so nice to you until you're not there. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, they're just evil. Vince McMahon is one of those people.
Well, that ends well. Number 2, that doesn't work for me, brother. Hulk Hogan has to be part of any list like this. There are so many stories where he dropped this exact phrase after Hogan had decided the idea being pitched was not the right one. It's just one of the perks of being the number 1 guy in wrestling. Given he had the numbers in his favor, I'm sure any promoter would go Celine Dion and think twice. You don't want to tank your business. During his massive 1,474-day title run, the word has always been the WWF wanted him to lose it to the Macho Man Randy Savage, but Hulk said no. He would drop it to Andre the Giant instead. This is why you get the WrestleMania 4 madness, where Ted DiBiase tries to buy the championship from Andre. Jack Tunney said that was illegal, so now we're going to do a tournament. And who won? Randy Savage. Wrestling is dumb. We also have to talk about WrestleMania 9, where Bret Hart lost the title to Yokozuna. Even though it wasn't in the plans, Hogan convinced Vince McMahon to let him storm out afterwards and challenge Zune to an impromptu title match. And yeah, he won. Yoko held the belt for like a minute. This went so bad by the summer Hulk was totally gone from the WWF, and honestly, one of the stupidest things the promotion ever did. Number 1, Ric Flair owns the WCW Championship.
Wow. Yeah. As much as I love Hulk Hogan, man, yeah, by time, I don't know, because it's, Hulk Hogan and John Cena are so much alike. Every time Hulk Hogan becomes likable, you hear more stories.
Ric Flair's first run with this championship under Jim Crockett was all-time levels. It's what people still talk about today. In 1991, though, after we had WCW and a new head honcho Jim Herd, the Nature Boy fell out with management. This was mostly as they told Flair to cut his hair, call himself Spartacus, and they also wanted him to cut his hair. Surprise, surprise, Rick felt a little bit insulted. As they couldn't come to an agreement, Herd then fired Flair, which was a really silly idea, because Rick was indeed the World Heavyweight Champion. In those days, you paid a $25,000 deposit when you won the belt, so you wouldn't do anything untoward with it. And when WCW told Flair they would not be giving him his money back, he just refused to send the title, and he kept it.
You know what, though? He's right. If you ain't gonna give me my money, you're not getting your belt. Straight up. Plain and simple.
I mean, I get it. There's no back scratching there at all. Flair took it one step further and signed with the WWF, and yep, he turned up on TV with the gold as he called himself the real world's heavyweight champion. It's a really fun story. This, of course, triggered a lawsuit, which is actually what helped Paul Heyman and ECW years later with Mike Awesome, as the courts decided the belt did count as an IP. You weren't allowed to mess with it. All you really need to know is that WCW was totally inept during this period. No wonder Flair felt aggrieved. We probably all would have done the same thing. Do you know of any other wrestlers that refuse to drop a title? Then make sure you let me know in the comments below before you like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Otherwise, you just have a wonderful day, my friend.
What he said. Definitely go over to What Culture. Check out the original video. Give them a like and a subscribe. Wow. I honestly, there was a lot of stuff in there that I did not know. But viewer mares, we wrestled it. Win, lose, or draw. Man, the match is over. Ring the bell. Oh!